Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I've got some bad news. I don't think Bishop is a counter to Jean Grey, and I hate to say that, knowing that I built him up as a really great PvP character, and he is, I think, a really great PvP character. I've got a rank 31 Bishop, for crying out loud. I've got some of his gears to 25. I got the most important defensive ones, and the other ones are rocking 22s. But I honestly think that even with a completely maxed out build, I'm talking rank 1 Bishop, he just can't do it. And especially against a tier 3 Jean Grey this week, it comes down to the fact that he just doesn't have enough damage. He can survive in certain situations, limited situations. I mean, it's very difficult for any character to survive against Jean Grey, but he just doesn't have enough damage. And I'll show you what I mean in a few battles, but it is kind of disappointing. We are going to fight against very strong teams. I don't want to fight against weak teams. I don't want to, you know, try and obscure his skill. We're using this team without a debuff because honestly, it really just comes down to whether we get the iframes off or not. And this is basically what happens the majority of the time. He gets hit with the 5th skill, and you just can't stall long enough to get your 5th skill ready, and really it's your 5th skill that you need. Jean Grey is honestly an absolute monster in PvP, and it's very, very difficult to build any sort of consistent counter to her that is actually going to work and work frequently. And you know, even in Bishop's case, sometimes his iframes get canceled by Jean Grey for no reason. Sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to go, and you just end up dying or whatever. And then there's not much for you to do. But we're gonna try, and I'll show you what I mean here, but he just doesn't do enough damage. So even though you do get some of your iframes off, even though you can chain some of them, she just heals way too often, and you can't stop her from doing her 3rd skill. He doesn't apply Fracture, and so because of that, on top of which a lot of Jean Greys have CTPs of regeneration right there. So there's just not much you can do. There I got my 5th skill canceled. I'm working on other counters to Jean Grey, and I'll make a video later on counters to Jean Grey once I have a bit more information and I have something a bit more concrete for you guys. But for today, I wanted to focus on Bishop, not only to kind of address the possibility that he can counter Jean Grey, because I honestly don't think so. I think in order for Jean Grey to get countered, we're going to need a character that has the type advantage against Jean Grey. I think the type advantage is super important. We cannot underestimate the speed type characters. We might not have enough good speed type characters right now. I mean, we might need like an upgraded tier 3 Spider-Man, or we might need, you know, a tier 3 Quicksilver or someone else down the road. But there is still a silver lining for Bishop, and I'm gonna go and cherry pick on a different team here. I'm gonna scroll down to a team that has, where is he? He has a different setup. As soon as I can find him, there we go, DJA. He has a team with Captain Marvel in 1st. And this is a great example of where Bishop does shine. So for those of you that have built up Bishop, or for those of you that still want to build up Bishop, don't be afraid. He still has value. And the value is against Captain Marvel. I think Bishop is an amazing Captain Marvel counter. And I think this botched, that super botched gameplay just now shows you exactly what I'm talking about. I think, honestly, I do think Bishop is a nice counter to Captain Marvel. And I stand by that. As crazy as that sounds, he's a free-to-play character. I really do think he has what it takes to, you know, give a lot of Captain Marvels a lot of headaches. But it's something that you definitely need to set up properly. You obviously have to build Bishop, and this is not, you know, this is not some baby build Bishop. This is a top 30 Bishop in the game. So obviously there was a lot of work put into this, and this team that I'm fighting does have the disadvantage of not having the debuff lead. But that is not something that is very uncommon. I mean, it's not something that's you know, it's not rare to find this, because for this week you see majority of teams, the vast majority of teams, using either Captain or using either Jean Grey or Dr. Doom or Strife as the leader. Maybe not Strife because he's banned, but anyways, they're using Jean Grey or another debuff leadership. But we know that on other weeks Jean Grey is banned, and you see a lot more teams just going full offense with someone like Captain Marvel in the lead, or if Captain Marvel's not in the lead, they still don't use a debuff. And in that case, especially against Captain Marvel. I mean, this team doesn't use it uses sort of a debuff lead. It's a debuff reduction time lead. But in this case, if you don't have a debuff lead, but even with a debuff lead, I think that Bishop has an absolute, he has a chance. I always feel like against Jean Grey's, or sorry, against Captain Marvel's, that Bishop has a chance. And it's really a combination of his 5th skill, which does good enough damage against Captain Marvel. It doesn't do good enough damage against Jean Grey, but against Captain Marvel, it definitely does enough work. And so you can, wow. Okay, well, I got procced there, and she has a CTP of destruction. That wasn't the best showing there, because I had to body Wolverine first. But in the case of oh, there, Ant-Man's getting it, and this is kind of the PvP team that I've been kind of playing around with. The possibility of using a combo Bishop and Ant-Man to kill most of the meta. Most of the meta being, in particular, Jean Grey and Captain Marvel. And we use Bishop for Captain Marvel, and we use Ant-Man for Jean Grey with a little bit of combo in between. But I don't want to focus on Ant-Man today because I'm still working out some issues with him. I want to focus on Bishop because I truly think if I could put him in a simulation, well, a manual simulation, obviously. This Wolverine is really fucking annoying. And I'm gonna die here. This is so fucking stupid. Jesus. Okay, hang on. Okay, here we go. Finally didn't get interrupted by Wolverine. It was just some kind of weird targeting issue where he was constantly getting interrupted at the very beginning of the fight. But yeah, against her, boom, and there you go. And we got her. Honestly, I do think that Bishop has Captain Marvel's number more often than not, although he gets completely bodied by Jean Grey. So this is not the best team in Timeline, but it does have a debuff lead that we can use to showcase Bishop against Captain Marvel in a situation where she does have a debuff lead available to her. We just need to get the, there we go, we need to get that fight started, and then we just need to proc his 5th skill, and then use that 3rd skill for defense. And there's basically not much she can do. We're gonna keep triggering that CTP of regen, but this is really what I mean when I say that Bishop is a good counter to Captain Marvel, because we have a situation where, well, I died there, but he lasted really long. And the mistake that I made was essentially using Bishop's 3rd skill before Captain Marvel uses her 4th skill. So as long as you're not fighting, and again, it's obviously something that's not foolproof, but as long as you're fighting a Captain Marvel that doesn't have a CTP of destruction, Bishop, I think, has, you know, more than a 50% chance. I would say consistently, like 60-70% of the time, he's going to be able to kill her just based on that 3rd skill combo that takes her out of her iframe, and then he gets to bounce into his iframe, and he can consistently do that. And you can see there, and she's going to die here. Boom. She was about to trigger her CTP of regen, and obviously this is not the optimal team using a Werewolf and Malekith. It's kind of like a budget version of the team that you want for Captain Marvel, and if she had more max HP or a better build. But on weeks where Jean Grey is restricted, you're going to see a lot more teams that rely on Captain Marvel because they don't have Jean Grey, and they're going to make that setup where either they don't have a debuff, or you know, you can just take them down before Captain Marvel and then just take her down one-on-one against Bishop. So we're going to try to find another team here in the meantime that has another Captain Marvel lead, or at least a team that I think that is pretty good. We're going to try to take down Nick Fury with either Ant-Man or Victorious. Victorious is going to have a bit of problems because she's a villain, so hopefully she doesn't get one-shotted here by Nick Fury. But if not, there we go. And now we can switch over, and we can... Oh, she did binary right away. That's really bad. I think we're dead. Yep. So let's try this one again. I got fucking bodied right at the beginning of that last fight because I got a little bit unlucky with, you know, Miss Marvel going into binary immediately. But if she doesn't do that, then we have a really good chance. Oh, she did her oh, she did her radiant form, but we were able to get the kill anyways. Let's see if we can... Nope, we're gonna get bodied again. Yep. This is basically, yep, just completely interrupt me all the time. It's so frustrating, honestly, to play against Jean Grey in general because she guard breaks you, and it's so BS. It's so unfair to get guard broken when you have guard break immunity. It's ridiculous. I honestly think it's one of the worst aspects of PvP, and I don't think that anyone I mean, people are going to take PvP seriously, but I don't think any, you know, serious PvP contenders are going to, you know, enjoy that aspect of the game. I think the guard break penetration is one of the stupidest, if not the stupidest, feature in the game. But there you go. It's a really easy combo with Bishop, and it actually works. It works surprisingly frequently. Again, you're always hunting for a wow, she has a CTP of destruction. Yeah, you're always hunting for, boom, got a first kill at least. But you're always hunting for a CTP. Yeah, CTP of destruction lists Captain Marvel. It's really dependent on whether she has that CTP or not. But if not, I think that Bishop is like, you know, 8 out of 10 or higher chance of actually getting that kill. And then Ant-Man cleans up this little witch with her stupid guard break penetration. So yeah, don't. I mean, the stock for Bishop might have dropped a little bit because I may have oversold his value. And personally, I honestly was expecting him to be better against Jean Grey, but I guess more tier 3 Jean Greys and more you know, impressive builds on Jean Grey is really the difference maker here, and whatever he was doing before against a level 70 Jean Grey at tier 2, just really, you know, incomparable to a tier 3. Tier 3 Jean Grey is basically impossible for him to kill. You'd have to give him a damage proc, like a CTP of energy or something like that, for him to be able to have enough damage to kill a Jean Grey with a suboptimal build. And then on top of that, there's no way he's going to survive, so you're basically just playing this game of knives when you do that, and I honestly don't like that, and that's why I want to come out and say right at the beginning, I don't think that he's a good counter, or that he's a reliable character to use against Jean Grey. But thankfully, I do think that there's enough evidence of his ability to fight and win consistently against pretty much any non-CTP of destruction Captain Marvel. There's really nothing I can suggest for Captain Marvel that does have a CTP of destruction. I honestly don't know any character other than, like, you know, Jean Grey tier 3 or possibly Thanos tier 3 that can even tank that damage to begin with, let alone, you know, actually coming up with a counterattack. So it's just something that we're going to have to continue to work on as a community, and, you know, hope and pray that more people don't do it, because, boom, there we go. If not, you completely body her, and it feels so good to just clap those cheeks with the 3 and then the 2 or the 3, the 1. You get clapped by Jean Grey, cool. Everybody gets clapped by Jean Grey. Very fun to get guard broken instantaneously and constantly. It's a very fun mechanic to just have your characters flip-flop like dirty fish in the fight. But if not, if you got infinite dodge like Ant-Man does, then you can actually do something about it. And yeah, maybe this is the new meta PvP team. I don't think any of these characters are ever banned. So, I mean, don't rush to tier 3 Ant-Man, and if you guys want to see a dedicated video about Ant-Man later on, I can definitely put one together, but the sneak peek for a later video is really that Ant-Man definitely has his place somewhere in the meta, trying to counter these bullshit Jean Greys who can guard break, you know, guard break block, or guard break ignore. So, ooh, that was a mistake. One more takedown of Captain Marvel featuring Bishop. I just need to stall long enough so that Bishop's 3rd skill is going to be ready and active, because you need that 3rd skill ready in order to counter Captain Marvel. But once you pop that 3rd skill, and he's got a really strong priority on his 5th skill, so you can actually surprise a few different characters with it, and I just want to showcase just how sweet it is to pop that 5th and pop that 3rd and cancel that into 2 or 1, and just get that kill off. It barely ever, if ever, happens against Jean Grey because she's such a tank, but against a much weaker opponent defensively like Captain Marvel, you can absolutely get it done. But this is basically what I was saying. This is probably the best example I can show you of just not being able to do enough damage to kill a Jean Grey. And if I had, I deviated from the rotation. I didn't do 5 right away, and she was able to get her 5th skill off, and so it's just a disaster, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. You get stuck in a loop, and of course you know what's coming. Her tier 3 skill's coming, and I can't do enough damage to kill her. So even if she doesn't kill me with regular skills and I can heal from my CTP of regen, I'm dead soon anyways. And you know, her tier 3 skill has iframe ignore, so there's literally nothing I can do to hide. There was my best chance, but even then, yeah, it's just a disaster. Honestly, fighting Jean Grey, if you're not using very specific characters and very specific builds, and you're getting lucky on top of everything else, is honestly super duper frustrating. But Ant-Man possibly for a later video. Let me know what you guys think of Ant-Man, and if you want to see a dedicated video about what I'm doing to him to get him to kill Jean Greys like that. But for now, let me know what you think of Bishop. I may have inflated his value at first, but I honestly think that with Revenge Shot and that combo there with Revenge Shot and 2 or 1, or Revenge Shot and then 5, he's a very, very nice 1v1 dueling counter to Captain Marvel. And I would say manually played with a very strong PvP build, he can kill, I would say like 90% of Captain Marvels without a CTP of Destruction. With a CTP of Destruction, his ass is grass, and you're better off just dueling Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel, or bringing a tier 3 Jean Grey, or bringing a tier 3 Thanos. But then even then, one-on-one, Captain Marvel's a nightmare. So yeah, there's that. So let me know what you think of Bishop. Let me know what you'd like to see next on the channel. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you later today. Take care.